Allan Saint-Maximin, loads of debate again, rage on social media about the future of Allan Saint-Maximin. And anyhow, was asked about it, wasn't he, after the game about his future, and he said it's up to Allan Saint-Maximin to prove that he can be here. He wants to be here. He was arguably Newcastle's most threatening player against Chelsea.
He was their most creative outlet in the first half. I thought he had a really good 45 minutes. His performance sort of dipped in the second half, but I think pretty much everybody's dipped. So I wouldn't hold that against him. Thought he's really, really good. And yeah, it just sort of opened this age-old debate up again about, does he have a future? Should they cash in on him? I think if you split it down the middle, you've got 50% of the fan base on one side and 50 on the other. I think there's no real sort of general overwhelming feeling one way or the other. It's really, really fascinating.
I think it all rests on his attitude, because we know that everyone fit and raring to go, that I am going to say he's not in Eddie Howe's starting 11. And I think they might go out and buy someone else to maybe fit in that spot as well. So he's gone from the main man under Steve Bruce, where the game plan was give it to Allan Saint-Maximin, close your eyes, keep everything crossed, and hopefully something will happen, to being on the bench. And even when Newcastle need that magic a moment, he's not always the first name Eddie Howe turns to introduce to the game. Does he want to play that role? Does he want to no longer be the star man? Can he handle that? That's what it comes down to. And if he can apply himself correctly and say, do you know what? Okay, I accept that, and I'm gonna challenge Eddie Howe through hard work on the training pitch. And when I get my opportunities by scoring goals, assisting, what have you, then fine, keep him in the squad. If he's not up for that, then maybe a cheeky bid from whoever, 50, 60 million pound bid from Spurs, for example. Maybe selling them is the right way to go.
Yeah, I think, as you say, a lot of it comes down to his mentality. I always remember when he came and there was sort of criticisms in France that he was a really bad trainer and he'd fill out with the Nice manager, and he came here and he didn't ever show that. He was always very, very hard working, as you've touched on earlier. Those videos last summer of him really working hard during the off season. He's been very, very unlucky this season with injuries. He started the season, in such good form. That game against Manchester City that we always bang on about, the Wolves goal. If you can get that Maxi back, and the Maxi that played really well against Liverpool and Manchester United in the second half of the season, it's a no-brainer to keep him. But it goes back to that thing: can he be consistent? And I just don't know. If a suitor comes in with 30, 40 million from, I think I don't know. I think they'd be tempted to sell.
Aaron's clearly very nervous at this answer because he's busy peeling a sticker off his water bottle in nerves of having not to sit on the fence.
I can't decide though. To be honest, I feel like I never have a consistent answer. One week I'm like, right, keep him. He played really well on Sunday, and I just thought, oh, he's won me over again. And then he'll drop a stinker for 2 weeks. I'm like, I just don't know.
It comes down to exactly what Eddie Howe said, though. It's up to him.
Yeah.
Now, True Rules has come and commented here and says Saint-Maximin has no attitude problem at all. Stop saying this. It's getting old. And I'm not saying he's got an attitude problem at all. What I'm saying is it comes down to whether he wants to play a secondary role in many ways instead of being the first name on the team sheet to what he was used to. That's what it comes down to. I'm not saying he's got an attitude. It's just whether he wants to be starting every week. And I don't think, even if fully fit, he will be.
No, do I. I think there's too much competition for those, or that one specific position down the left at the moment. You know what it is? It's really, really funny. As I was writing an article last week, and I was digging through the archives, and I stumbled across the Chronicle's first ever sit-down interview with Stavely. Another day, she got the keys to the club, and one of the questions that the Chronicle journalist asked was, "Will you build a team around Allan Saint-Maximin?" And I just thought, how funny that 18 months on, he's gone from being the star man at this football club, they were going to build the future around him, to all of a sudden being like, do we actually sell on him? Because we've actually got Bruno and Joelinton and Trippier and Botman, who are all, the main man now. It's really, really fascinating.
Graham says Saint-Maximin has tons of quality, but is it a mindset holding him back?
Mindset? I don't know.
I think we saw this towards the end of Steve Bruce's reign as well. I think his decision making has improved drastically, where he was often trying to beat an extra man. We saw him crossing the ball back into the box, and I think that's continued under Eddie Howe. And I do actually think at times he's looked restrained. You know, like the shackles are on, but you've got to get that balance with the kind of style Eddie Howe likes to play, and it has to be so disciplined for it to work. You know, the high pressing nature, it's only going to work if everyone remains disciplined and does what they've been asked to do. And to be fair, some players will do what they've been asked to do, but they'll just not be that good at actually doing what they've been asked to do, especially in a defensive, situation. I don't think it's mindset. I just wonder whether, you know, he might be better suited at a club that can maybe afford a more attacking style, which sounds daft given all the goals I've scored and the way games have gone this season. But I think what underpins the way Newcastle have played this season is that defensive discipline from the front to the back.
And that's the one big negative that everybody always calls upon, isn't it? It's that when you play Dan Burn behind Maxi, you know he's going to get exposed. You know that the tracking back isn't going to be there. And it's a little bit like the Dubravka situation. Does Maxi think, right, if I'm not going to get a game here behind Gordon and Joelinton and Isak on the left next season, do I just go and try and settle for a mid-table Premier League club where I'm going to be the star man again? An Everton or a West Ham? I don't know. It's a fascinating one.
Barry says Saint-Maximin is a brilliant player on his day. Must keep him on a busy season. But you see, Barry, there is my issue on his day.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. The consistency is the issue. Yeah, you know, on his day, yeah, fantastic. But how many of those days do we see in a season?
And also, what I think you can never guarantee with Allan Saint-Maximin is that you can't stay fit for a full season, and that's been a big negative, because I think if we'd seen him for a lot more this season, we'd be a lot more settled. And I'm staying.
Well, that last injury, he just started getting in good form, and then he dropped out, and that is frustrating. The Mighty Win says Saint-Maximin is trying to follow instructions, but is no good at it and detracts from what he does best, which he doesn't produce sufficiently often. And I think that is kind of where...
even the comments are split between keeping them and selling
we love
them.
to see.
It's what we love to see.
Keep them coming.